Okay, this will probably be the last video for today. This is video 24, I believe. Former members should speak up on social media. Awareness, yeah. Now, I got recruited into a cult at a shopping centre, Princes Mead, Farnborough, January 1995. I got recruited into the London International Church of Christ, as led by, ultimately, Kip McKean. I think it was Chris McGrath leading it at the time. I tell you, there's a lot of former cult leaders out there that have quietly, got into different things like self-help and writing books. I know a lot of, when I was in the London ICOC, there were a lot of top leaders. It's amazing how they've just quietly ignored all the abuse they did and just quietly moved on to other careers, writing books or self-help or getting into other things. Isn't that amazing? Isn't that bizarre? But those people are unlikely to speak against the cult because they made a fair bit of money from the cult, and they're probably embarrassed that they were the abusers and they just sort of brush it under the carpet as if nothing happened. Cults don't want former cult members speaking up against the group. I had a YouTube channel, it got deleted by the cult. I did a few sound clips on a few videos about the leader just to expose how he brainwashes people, and they got the channel taken down. Copyright strikes. Oh well, that's good, isn't it? But anyway, so this is a new channel, this is a new start. There you go, I continue to speak up. It is mentally exhausting to tell your story, I won't lie, but I believe it's worthwhile because I believe somebody from some cult, might watch one of my videos or somebody else's videos about a cult and it will get them thinking, and when they think, they'll leave. Now, the cults don't want you watching YouTube, they don't want you, anything they're not in control of, is the devil. Right, so according to the cults, I'd be a devil, or you're an ex-member, you're working for the devil. But of course, the cults are the con. The cults are the devil. Ironically, the Bible in 2 Corinthians 11, it says Satan masquerades as an angel of light. So the cults, they can be very attractive. They can shine like the devil in the fact that, they can say, oh, we turned people's lives around from drinking and drugs and immorality and they were going to go to hell and we saved them. Well, society's messed up. I think we all know society's messed up, which is why people turn to drink and drugs and whatever. Society's messed up. But they, if you take somebody who's messed up and then you just mentally brainwash them and use them as a slave to recruit other people, you're not saving anyone. Because, let's say somebody's gone to Alcoholics Anonymous, which is a safe group, relatively, or they've gone to some drug rehabilitation that is a safe place to go, right? And they're off the drugs and they're off the drink. What a cult basically does to get people off drink, drugs, smoking, whatever, is they constantly shout at the person that they're going to go to hell in an ever such a loving way. the charismatic drill sergeant behind the pulpit. Oh, you're all going to go to hell if you're sexually immoral. The people outside of this cult, they don't know they're going to hell. All of that kind of hype. Yeah, it's with Alcoholics Anonymous, it's more about reasoning, sharing your story. I know people who've come off drink, Alcoholics Anonymous. I don't look at Alcoholics Anonymous as some kind of dangerous cult that is going to turn them into manic former drunks that are going to scream along every high street to tell people to stop drinking. It's done in a more, gentler way. But, this is the thing. When you're up against cults, what I've realised is they've always got their clever phrases that they use to justify their abuse, and it is abuse. They don't call it abuse. They say, oh, we're saving the world. But no, you're abusing people, threatening people with a hell that they can't prove exists, you know, and the cult leader is basically the god, right? Or the prophet kind of thing. But they just, oh, God told me, and in the Bible it says this, you know, and it's full of emotion, it's full of dynamism and charisma, and people just get overwhelmed by it. They get overwhelmed by it. I did. I mean, I was a bit of an introvert. I didn't have that many friends. And suddenly I've got all these super fantastic, fired up, highly energetic friends that are pouring love on me, telling me I'm going to do all these things for God. It's overwhelming. But what they don't tell you is they decide whether you get married or not based upon how many people you recruit. I thought, oh, okay, this is an excitable church. Maybe I'll find a girlfriend, maybe I'll get married. You know, and it took me many, many years to figure out, hang on a minute, I'm not getting married. You know, why is it not happening for me? But because you're so exhausted by everything else that goes on, your cognitive reasoning and figuring things out doesn't work very well in a cult. They're so busy trying to save the world, which is really busy making money for themselves. That's what it's really going on. Right, 6 minutes. So that's why, I mean, some of the people I meet, I think, well, you know, when you get well again, share your story. Because it's all about awareness. You know, I mean, how much does it cost to get a YouTube channel? Next to nothing, right? Free, if you want to talk under 15 minutes. What's the chance on you being heard? Well, I'm not particularly good. This channel, you know, I don't really have any fancy video software. I'd rather just read from my notes. It's more of an audio than a video, but most people watch YouTube. So, I mean, yes, this is a video. I did have a sort of Spotify, but nobody ever listened, because I'm not making a song or reading a book. It's kind of a niche thing, trying to help people out of cults and trying to expose cults. You know, it's like, what are the odds you're going to find a video about a whistleblower from a large corporate that is doing all kinds of bad stuff? Probably you'll never see it, but there's always that chance that somebody might see your video and it could have a massive impact on their life. Oh, I'm not the only one. Oh, that's how they did what they did. I mean, I could go into a lot more detail about these Bible studies that they used to brainwash with people. But, you know, on my previous channel, I had, well, it was 1,600 videos, you know. But, you know, I'm unemployed. I don't have a job. I can only do this now and again. I'm trying to get more excited about learning some skills and getting a job, because this doesn't make money. It's a very niche topic, you know. I mean, depending on the size of the cult. I mean, there's a lot of ex-Mormons around, ex-Jehovah's Witnesses, not so many ex-ICOC, because it was a small cult, even though it was like 135,000 people, and ICC, there's about 8,000, and RCW, the new Kip McKean cult, I don't even know if there's 2,000 of them yet, but they're growing and growing and growing. But there was one guy on YouTube that they got his video deleted. He was saying 2 out of 3 members leave within the first 6 months. And I thought, wow, that's probably about right. But why aren't these people speaking up? Well, some of the cults get their members to sign non-disclosure agreements. But these non-disclosure agreements aren't legally binding. But they don't know that. You know, sign this non-disclosure. I better not say anything. Well, you're protecting God's kingdom. And if you don't sign it, you won't get baptised. You know, again, more manipulation. But it is the way the world is. You know, we don't live in a perfect world. We live in a world where there's a lot of dodgy stuff going on. You know, and cults are often just lost in the woods of bad things going on. But I would say when somebody simply loses their life to a cult, you know, it's not their life anymore. Suddenly it's all about what God wants, and it's, you know, really it's all about what the preacher wants, because nobody's ever heard from God. He hasn't said very much, has he? But he's got a lot of people who speak on his behalf. When you think about it, it is a very heavy topic. It can be a very depressing topic, but I think the more people who speak up and share their story, you're doing your little bit. You know, I mean, I don't know how many videos I'm going to do on this channel, or if I'm going to do any more videos on this channel. I feel a bit overwhelmed that I lost the other channel. But yeah, I mean, cults are the big bad monster that have got the lawyers, you know, even people working in government that might be in the cult, you know. You are up against the behemoth. I think that's the word to use, a behemoth, you know, as a broken ex-member, you know. But that is the way the world is. When I left the cult the first time, I thought, yeah, I mean, I should ring the police. The police will stop this cult. No. No, you can't ring a policeman up and say, can you stop this religion? I think it's bad. You know, it's like we rely on people who really don't have the power to do very much. I'm going to talk to the Prime Minister. He's going to get this religion shut down. You know, no. This is one of the things that I think a lot of people think, well, the government will take care of it, or the police will take care of it, or the Secret Service or whatever. No, they're extremely limited in what they can do. I mean, in the UK, it's getting worse and worse. You know, the sort of Shiite cults are getting stronger and stronger, and it's like the government seems to be being fleeced, you know, by corporates and illegal immigrants or whatever. The government are getting fleeced, you know. There's large corporates that buy British companies and then put them, somehow they get them billions in debt, and then they just walk away. You know, so the world is there's a lot going on in this world, and a lot of it isn't good. And unfortunately, a lot of the laws are decades out of date. You know, it's like, well, why don't we stop these cults? Oh, we have to have religious freedom. But they're not religion. They're a scam, pretending to be religion. And I think slowly the law lags a long way behind reality. You know, well, how can somebody come here illegally and we can't just send them back to where they came from? Oh, well, you see, we got these European human rights. So the laws can be more of a hindrance than a help. Certainly with the issue of cults. I mean, one of the tricks the cult leader did with me, he rang me up and he says, you better not talk to anyone in the cult, or I'll ring the police and I'll say you're harassing us. You know, and he knew it was a lie, but he knew how to manipulate the police. All you've got to do is say, no, somebody's harassing our church. You know, and then the police seem to be oblivious to what's really going on. And the cult is smart enough to use the police as puppets on a string, you know, kind of thing. So that's what you're up against. So I think it's very important for former cult members to speak up. Even if you've signed an NDA, it is not legally binding. An NDA does not mean you are unable to report criminal activity. Cults seem to think, well, if we get people to sign pieces of paper, they're so brainwashed they'll think they're not allowed to say anything. But when you actually look, an NDA doesn't mean you can cover up a crime, you know. But yeah, it is tough because the ex-member community, there's not much unity in it really. Anyway, there you go, short video, 15 minutes.